Jungkook didn't expect it at all. Behind the camera, Taehyung secretly takes a surprising step that could change the course of their careers. But why did Taehyung do it secretly? What really happened in her meeting with director CELINE? And why was Jungkook's reaction so emotional when he found out? Is this a sign that their relationship is more than just group mates? Jungkook was shocked. Here's the unexpected reaction after Taehyung's act on CELINE's show. Is this all just a strategy? Or is there something deeper behind Taehyung's smile? Is this a form of love secretly to a friend? Or rather, a hidden farewell pact in goodness? These questions are now shaking the army after an unexpected incident was revealed from behind the scenes of CELINE's grandiose event in Paris. In an atmosphere filled with spotlights, haute couture, and exclusive guests from all over the world, there was a moment that was not even captured on camera, a moment that became the center of Jungkook's restless heart. It all started with the news of Taehyung's presence in Paris, invited directly by CELINE's creative director. Of course, it's no surprise that world-class visuals like Taehyung are invited to the world's most elite fashion events. But it's not just Taehyung's presence that changes things. It's what he does behind an exclusive meeting room that no one else can enter. As the media buzzed about what Taehyung was wearing, who was sitting next to him, or how he smiled at the camera, no one knew that a private conversation had taken place, and Jungkook was the main topic. What prompted Taehyung to mention Jungkook's name in that important meeting? Why would he risk voicing the name of someone who wasn't even present at the event? And even more disturbing, why did Jungkook's facial expression immediately change when he found out about this? Is this a sign that something has been buried for a long time and is now starting to unfold one by one? According to a source close to CELINE's creative team, Taehyung personally proposed Jungkook's name to CELINE's director in order to be given the opportunity to appear or represent the brand at the next event. The proposal did not come from the manager, not from the agency, but from the heart of a friend.
But why?
Why did Taehyung have to take such a step without Jungkook's knowledge? Is this a sign that Taehyung feels Jungkook is losing his place in the spotlight, or is it proof that Taehyung sees greater potential in Jungkook, a potential that Jungkook himself may not even see? And when Jungkook finally finds out about Taehyung's move, his reaction is not something that can be described with the words moved or shocked.
No.
Jungkook was reportedly barely able to say anything. In fact, one of the staff said that Jungkook just stared silently at his phone screen when he heard the news from his manager.
Old.
No sound. There was only one question that flew softly from her lips. He really said that? A sentence that contains a mixture of disbelief, gratitude, and maybe even guilt. Is this the sacrifice of a Taehyung? Or a subtle hint that Taehyung is crafting something bigger behind the scenes? Keep in mind, the relationship between Jungkook and Taehyung is not a relationship that can be defined in the word friend alone. They grew up together, watched each other fall and rise, and went through so much pressure under the big name BTS. But when one of them suddenly stands on the stage of the fashion world alone, will the other one feel abandoned? But in this incident, the opposite happened. Taehyung didn't close the room, but opened the door. Not hogging the spotlight, but giving up some of the light for Jungkook. But is Jungkook ready to walk through that door? And more importantly, will HYB, their agency, condone this unexpected move? The problem is, there's bad news coming from inside the agency. It was stated that Taehyung's initiative to propose Jungkook actually received a subtle rejection from HYB because it was considered outside the promotional scheme that has been prepared. This led to new speculation. Is HYB saving another project for Jungkook? Or does the agency feel uncomfortable if two BTS members appear together in a big brand project that is not completely controlled by them? Then, one more surprising fact emerges. It turns out that Taehyung didn't just mention Jungkook's name. He even showed some personal footage of Jungkook's moments while performing in BTS shows, showing how Jungkook's charisma and unique side are worthy of representing CELINE's edgy and elegant aura. This is where everything gets more emotional. As no one expected, in the midst of his own busy life and pressure, Taehyung still keeps Jungkook's recordings, keeps them and shows them proudly to one of the most influential fashion directors in the world. Then came a new question that burned the hearts of the army. Why is all this such a secret? Why hasn't CELINE publicly announced a move this close? Will there be any surprises behind the scenes? Or will all of this end up simply as discourse silenced by greater powers? Meanwhile, Jungkook begins to look different in his latest activities. Her smile, it's a little stiff. Look him in the eye, heavier than usual. Some fans even speculated that he was facing an inner conflict between accepting help or feeling not worthy enough because the help came from the person he respected and admired the most. This is Jungkook always wanting to stand on his own 2 feet, but unable to hide his warmth when someone is secretly fighting for him from behind the scenes. Will their relationship change after this? Will their closeness grow closer, or will it begin to be torn apart by agency pressure, media expectations, and emotional wounds that cannot be explained in words? These questions will continue to revolve in the minds of fans. But one thing was certain. That night in Paris, when the lights were shining and all eyes were fixed on the runway, there was one story that didn't make it onto the stage, the story of a best friend who fought for another best friend in a way no one would have asked for, but secretly most expected. And in the silence, somewhere away from the spotlight, perhaps Jungkook was thinking about the one thing he never expected, that Taehyung never stopped paying attention, never stopped believing. Even when the world doesn't turn to him, Taehyung has made sure one door stays open. However, just as every story harbors invisible layers, that Parisian moment opens the doors to even darker questions. Is this a form of Taehyung's acknowledgement of guilt over achievements that feel lame? Did he secretly feel that he had run first and left Jungkook in the shadows, even though he never wanted to? Or is it, this form of platonic love is so deep that cannot be packaged in the usual definition of between best friends? When the backstage staff described how seriously Taehyung was talking about Jungkook to director CELINE, what shook were the words he used. Jungkook is someone who never realized how extraordinary he was. But maybe that's what makes him so worthy of being loved by the world. Taehyung was quoted as saying by one of the local interpreters who was in the room. The word loved by the world sounds like a deep metaphor, but it feels very personal when spoken from the lips of a friend who has known Jungkook for more than half his life. What exactly prompted Taehyung to say that? Was it frustrating to see Jungkook hesitate to take the chance he deserved? Or maybe, and this is the most disturbing thing, Taehyung knows that their time together will not be long. Some observant fans began to attribute this move by Taehyung to the possible departure of one of them from the agency, or even from the industry. Haven't too many things been saved so far? Even their meetings abroad are no longer as frequent as before. The closeness that used to feel natural is now more like a rare moment that only happens when the camera is on. But why would Taehyung actually voice something so personal? Something that could throw all of HYB's promotional schemes into disarray, just for the sake of mentioning Jungkook's name? Is this a subtle form of parting? Is there a huge pressure that they are facing? Pressure that is pushing Taehyung to take extreme measures as a final form of rebellion against their restrictive system. On the other hand, many asked, why didn't Jungkook directly express his gratitude publicly? Why is there not a single post, not a single remark, not even a single sign that he is aware of what Taehyung is doing? Is it because he is still struggling with emotions that he cannot yet understand? Or was there a bigger reason that made him hold back? Some said he burst into tears when he saw video footage of the meeting from staff who had gone to Paris. An uncharacteristic cry. Not because I was touched, but out of fear. Fear of loss. When someone does something so great for you, unsolicited, selfless, and you know you can't repay them in kind, that guilt feels like a curse. And Jungkook, who has been known to be tough on himself since the beginning, seems to be caught in a dilemma. Should he accept and move on, or reject and keep his distance so as not to disappoint the person he respects the most? There were also rumors that CELINE had been interested in Jungkook since last year, but HYB turned down the offer for fear it would interfere with the focus of promoting Jungkook's solo album. Now, when Jungkook's name is mentioned again by Taehyung, will HYB change her attitude? Or will there be a new conflict behind the scenes between two great powers, an agency that wants to manage everything, and two idols that start making decisions based on their own hearts? Even more surprising is the news that after the talk, director CELINE actually asked the team to study the visual character and artistic energy of Jungkook, even. But before answering that question, we need to look back. to a time when these two were just two innocent teenagers shaped by the rigors of the industry, driven by dreams, and quietly beginning to understand each other more than anyone else. Behind the stage lights and laughter on variety shows, have we ever asked, what exactly makes Taehyung and Jungkook's relationship so special? Why, of all the members, are only the two of them always seen keeping something in silence? Some of Big Hit's old staff once mentioned that Taehyung was the only person who could pull Jungkook out of his own head. That is, when the pressure comes, when expectations are too heavy on Jungkook's shoulders, only Taehyung knows how to make him laugh again. But none of that was ever announced. No posts. No video. Everything happens behind the scenes, in their own little world that no one, not even the army, can touch. Now, when that relationship is tested in its most surprising form, a real support that challenges even the system that houses them, does that closeness still hold? Will Jungkook still be able to see Taehyung's intentions as a pure form of love, or will he suspect them as part of a strategy too good to be true? They had a great argument. There was once a night when the two didn't talk to each other after rehearsals because of disagreements about choreography. But that very night, Taehyung wrote a small note that was placed quietly on Jungkook's desk. "I'm sorry if I was too harsh. I just don't want you to stop believing in yourself." A simple sentence, but a breath of fresh air for Jungkook to step into the next day. And now, years later, when the world has changed and their status has become a living legend, Taehyung remains the first person to mention Jungkook in the most powerful room in the global fashion industry. Isn't that the rarest form of consistency? But the question still hangs in the air. Why did Taehyung choose CELINE? Is it because he is the face of the brand? Or is it that CELINE holds a deeper meaning for Taehyung, a personal space where she feels free and wants Jungkook to feel it too? Some fashion observers speculate that CELINE is a symbol of high-class rebellion, and Taehyung's presence in it all this time is a subtle form of resistance to the tightly controlled construction of the K-pop image. Now, by bringing Jungkook in, is Taehyung trying to send a message that they're ready to be more than just idols? They want to be real artists, no longer subject to agency dictates. And don't forget, so far CELINE has been known to rarely use two representatives from one country, let alone from the same group. Taehyung's proposal was not only bold but technically and politically almost impossible.
But he did it anyway.
What convinced him? Or is he actually keeping a personal promise with Jungkook, an old deal we never knew about? Rumors began to spread. Some say that last year, while both were in New York for personal activities, they secretly met with representatives of CELINE and briefly discussed the possibility of joint collaboration. But somehow, after turning to Korea, Jungkook refused to talk about it again. Did he not feel ready then? Or has HYB already secured her move so as not to collide with the big agenda that has been designed? Now the situation comes to the fore again, but this time with a different context. Taehyung has entered and opened the door. The question is, will Jungkook dare to step up, or will he close the door to maintain the stability of the career he has built over the years? Some fans started comparing this to the relationships of other members of different K-pop groups, but it's clear that Taehyung and Jungkook's relationship has a much more complex emotional layer. They are not just friends, they are witnesses of each other's wounds and victories. And when someone who already sees you at your lowest point chooses to stay standing by your side at the top, it's not just a working relationship. It's a soul bond. What's more interesting, in an interview Taehyung did in Paris, which just aired on an independent fashion channel, there was one quote that wasn't so viral but held deep meaning. When asked if he felt lonely stepping into the fashion world alone, Taehyung simply replied, "Not as long as I know someone who is far away there is still looking at me, even if it is silent." Who does he mean? Isn't this the answer that sounds like it's addressed to someone special? Is this a hint that Taehyung feels his move will only be complete if Jungkook is there as well? Meanwhile, Jungkook began to withdraw from the media. No beberse updates. There is no video behind the scenes. Even in the live that he usually does regularly, now he only says hello for a while, smiles for a while, and then says goodbye faster than usual. Is this a sign that he is making a big decision? Or is it a form of self-defense from emotions that are too big to share with the public? The army began to divide. Some are hoping Jungkook accepts the offer, appearing alone with Taehyung on CELINE's next runway and writing new history in Korean-French collaboration.